Hello there, World of Tankers. I'm Blitz, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about the Tortoise and the AT line. Now, this is one of the hardest tank lines to grind in World of Tanks Blitz, starting with the A2 and making your way all the way down to the Tortoise. All of the vehicles in that bracket go a top speed of 20 kilometers per hour. Now, that is extremely slow. And when you find out that the FE2-5B183 is the most played Tier 10 tank destroyer in the game, in fact, the second most played Tier 10 vehicle in the game in total, yeah, that's kind of a bad thing when you notice that the Tortoise is so hard to play. The same for the AT7, the AT8. All of these vehicles are so hard to play. The AT8 has had numerous buffs over the years it has been in the game. Sadly, the Tortoise, yeah, not receiving many buffs at all. In fact, it's just kind of been power crept. So in today's video, I figured, you know what, I'm going to be talking about how to run slow vehicles. Now, of course, running slow tanks is one of the hardest things to do in the game because, let's say, you know, in a medium tank, if you push to one side of the map and you notice, oh, look, the enemy team went to the other side, you can easily flex your tank over there, get covering shots across. Yeah, you can't really do that in a Tortoise. You might be able to get covering shots across, but that's about it. Because when you're only going 20, well, yeah, you gotta take your time and slowly pounder your way over there. And yeah, it's going to take a while. So the Tortoise, you really got to know what you're doing right at the beginning of the game. Have a mindset, say, okay, I know where the enemy team is, and let's go straight there. So that's sort of the main goal that we're going to be talking about in today's video, is reading the enemy lineup, knowing where my team's going to go. I played this tank a little bit earlier today just to have a little bit of fun with 3700 DPM, and well, sadly, one of the games I played, my team just completely left me. It looked like our team had a couple medium tanks. They got a Progetto, T92, so they pushed their tanks to the medium side, but they noticed, hey, look, the enemy team has pushed their entire team to the medium side, so they turned around and went over to the heavy route and left me all alone there. And while I did do a decent game, sadly I was taken out, and that's one thing you always got to keep in mind, is what is your team going to do at the same time as what is the enemy team going to do? Because if you can't trust your own team, that's definitely something that you really got to get your back laid into before you even start reading the enemy lineup. So looking at the enemy team, we have an IS-8, a K91, and that's about the Tier 9 big boys. And then for the medium tanks, we got the AMX 1390, the Standard B, and the T49. Now that is not an awful lineup that I'm going to be going up against. In fact, this isn't that bad at all because the heavies they have I can easily deal with. I've got way more DPM than even the K91. And that's something that's very nice, is that I should easily be able to work with these heavy tanks and rip them apart. Although I will say, talking about teammates, you got our VK90 pushing up to a bush, and our E75 is a little bit late to the battlefield, so I have to keep that in mind. I don't want to push in way too aggressive and get over my head. As well, my light tanks haven't really spotted anything yet, so there's always a bunch of things you have to keep in mind. But of course, I'm going to be pushing up my heavily armored vehicle to the heavily armored spot. We've got the IS-8 right there, already getting a nice tap in. We notice that the K91 is off to the other side. So let's see if we can just slam a shell right in the side once again. There you go. We've already taken off 800 hit points from this poor IS-8. Looks like that K91 wants a piece of us. We got the 1390 right out in the open. Nice high explosive for 531 damage. Not really sure what that guy was expecting. But as you can see, this is the role of a Tortoise. You want to kind of be in the correct scenario at the correct time. You don't want to be stuck out in the open when there's 5 enemy vehicles aiming at you and you're the only one that they're all looking at. So, like now, I'm spotted. I don't know what I've been spotted by. That's something that I don't want to be because, of course, yeah, it's not very fun when you are spotted by vehicles. You don't know where they're at. So we've got the Tiger 1 right out in the open right now, and I would love to be able to get another shell right into that Tiger. I doubt he's going to pull out. If I were him, I wouldn't, but hey, guess that floats his boat, so he's pulled out. Let's load another shell right into his upper plate. Here we go, another tap for 363 hit points. We've got now the Standard B. Let's load some hash right on the frontal armor, and now you can see what does make the Tortoise such a strong tank, is that when you've got it in the correct area, like this one, I've put my tank in a scenario I know that it's going to prevail in. This is where it really does kick some butt, because yeah, I have pretty much ruined the enemy team's day so far. Now we've got the K91 out in the open, continuing to just fire shell after shell at him. We can actually fire hash into the side of him here, as you can see. Nice shot for 489 damage. And once again, just going to turn around. One really nice thing about the Tortoise is it actually has very nice traverse speed. That's something that goes for a lot of the AT tanks. But this was a pretty simple game in practice. Just pushed my tank right in the front brute force. This was a tier 8 match, so I knew my armor would stand up quite well, even though we did get penned by one vehicle, which was a tier 8 light. Didn't really matter because you saw that my damage per minute was absolutely amazing, and as well, we have great penetration. So here we go, all that's left is the Tiger, and thank you very much for your hit points. So how much damage did we pull out in that very quick amount of time? 4,223 damage. So yeah, you can see if you get the Tortoise in the correct scenario, the gun is absolutely amazing. And that's the same way all of the AT tanks are. The AT8, the AT7, all of them have great guns, great damage per minute, and great penetration values. The tier 8, the 1815, has 226 millimeters of standard pen. I think it's the same type of gun you'd find on your Centurion, but it has amazing damage per minute. I think it's over 3,000, which means that you can easily just continue to pump shell after shell into the enemy, sort of like what I did here with my Tortoise. So you could run an AT15 in the same type of scenario. So as I read at the beginning of that game, I read the lineup, I knew what my team had. They had an E75, we had heavily armored vehicles, and I knew once that my VK100, my E75, some of my heavy tanks were pushing to the heavy route, I could easily push my Tortoise and do a pretty dang good job, which we did do there. But now that I'm in a tier 10 match, this is where things get a little bit iffy because you got to be very careful. In a tier 10 match, tanks do a lot more damage. Yeah, tier 8, there's not really a lot of vehicles that are super deadly, but let's look at the tier 9 vehicles that can put a hurt on me. The Kampfpanzer, pretty deadly, does about, 160 more damage to me, quite a lot more, especially because its heat chills will easily punch through my armor. As well, we've got the Standard V, a super deadly auto-reloading medium tank, which I just made a video on yesterday. The K91, again, pretty deadly. The VK72, all of the tier 10 tanks they have are extremely deadly compared to my Tortoise. So let's see exactly what we are up against here. We've got the Foch pulled right out in the open, and, well, there's our first penetration right on that Foch. We can already plop on our adrenaline here, see if we can get another shell into that Foch, another shot for 370 damage. He has absolutely no clue where we are. And let's fire another shell once again at the Foch, finishing him off. So that was 3 shells, and we finished off a literal tier 10 tank destroyer in that quick amount of time. And that's what the Tortoise is great at doing. You can see, once again, I read their lineup. I knew where they were going to push most of their tanks. They had a heavily armored lineup. So I knew, hey, if they're going to push their tanks to the heavy route, I can get some nice covering fire. Now we know that the Standard B is up on the hill, and there's nothing I can really do about that. We've also got the Leopard to the side. But I do know that they have a Tortoise in the bush over there, which means I can easily deal with the Tortoise. As well, I've got my Vickers Light Buddy right here, and because this Leopard is so low on the hit points, let's pull around the corner here, and thank you very much for your hit points. So I'm going to try and clear the Tortoise. Because, of course, I know that the Tortoise is not going to be going any quicker than my vehicle is going here. And, yeah, if I can deal with the Tortoise, I'm guessing that I'm at least a better player. Let's see what clan he's in. Yeah, not a clan that I know of, so I should easily be able to deal with this Tortoise here. So let's get into position and see if we can get out some damage. But it also looks at the same time that my team is all pushing to the side over here where this Tortoise is at. So the question is the Tortoise waiting for us? It looks like he actually did know to back down the ridge, but at the same time, I was preparing for that. So now we can easily push our tank right where the Tortoise is. You can see this is where the Tortoise kind of falls apart, where like this Vickers Light is going to kind of ruin the guy's day. This is where the Tortoise, I just kind of feel bad for him. But we're going to put on our adrenaline here, get one more nice tap right in the side. I'll push up a little bit so my Badger can get a nice shot in. But yeah, you can see what happens if your Tortoise gets stuck in the incorrect scenario and you don't know what you're doing. So we get the VK72 right in front of us there, and I'm not going to play with a vehicle that can easily whip the hit points off of me. Like, that is just not fun right there. You can see my WT just losing literally 1,000 hit points. Why would you drive your tank right out in the open? So I'm going to be smart here. Again, my Badger doing the exact same thing the other Tortoise did, driving out in the open. Why would you do that? You're just losing hit points. There's no point. This Vickers Light, of course, actually does have a brain cell, and he knows what he's doing correctly. So I'm going to be pushing my tank right where this Vickers Light is. Now, there is an issue. Because this Vickers Light did push his vehicle here, I don't have really the jump on the vehicles. But we've got the K91 pulling right up here, and yeah, this K91 does not get that we have 10 degrees of gun depression, and we also have the great DPM on our tank. So let's finish off. Actually, I think my Vickers should easily, or one of my teammates can finish off that K91, as you can see there. I'm gonna save my great DPM to shoot at like this VK72. I'm not really too worried about the enemy team right now, so let's continue just to pump shell after shell into the enemy tank. I'm just going to drive literally straight down. Ooh, I'm actually very surprised that one did not penetrate. But we do have the Kampfpanzer right here. Let's get a nice tracking shot into the guy. And let's just keep firing shell after shell into him. So let's get another shot in. And you can see this is where the gun on the Tortoise really becomes devastating, is when you can just keep shooting it over and over and over. And while they may hurt me a little bit, we're already at 4,600 damage. One more shot in, finishing off the pretty much full health Kampfpanzer there. And all that's left is the VK-72, and let's see if we can get a nice little shell right to the side. Oof, did not, but nice job to the Vickers Light here. Actually, great job. But once again, you noticed I played my tank smart. I didn't do what my Badger did. I didn't just drive my Tortoise right out in the open and let the enemy tanks flank behind me and take me out. If I did that, we probably would have lost the match. But because I went around, I thought, hey, if I go around, I can use a little bit of gun depression. This tank has 10 degrees. You want to use everything your tank is given as an advantage. So I used my gun depression, came around the enemy, was able to pump shell after shell into them. In just a literal 30 seconds of shooting at that Kampfpanzer, we were able to take off 1,500 damage. That is why the Tortoise has so much DPM, and that's why if you actually know what you're doing, it's a great tank. We almost got 5,000 damage out here, pulled out a mastery, and well, you saw that even a tank that is super slow, doesn't have great, really anything going for it other than a gun, and I guess decent armor, you saw that it's an amazing vehicle if you know what you're doing, and that's sort of how the entire AT line is. The AT-15, as you see here, has amazing damage per minute, 3,300. The AT-7 as well, great damage per minute at 2,500, great penetration. It's got good damage. Overall, all of the vehicles in this line have great guns going for them, and they also have decent armor profiles. You just have to know where to put them and what to do in the correct situation. So once again, if you guys like my type of content, please make sure to slap that subscribe button down below. Really does help out the channel, but other than that, I hope you're all doing well out there. Stay happy, stay healthy, and I'll see you in the next one.